6,000 instances of book bans were documented across the U.S. in 2021 to 2023. Martinez, 2025. Book bans have negative effects, such as censorship consequences on minorities and negative impacts on intellectual development as a whole. However, there are ways to push back against them and understand the reasons they happen. As someone that enjoys reading and writing, I can admit that a lot goes into the message behind a story, and it can have extensive impacts on one's knowledge. Book bans are ultimately a form of censorship, and it can have extensive impacts on one's knowledge. These bans have both a variety of reasons they happen and a variety of ways to push back against them. Censorship also removes the ink from the pens of marginalized groups, impacting minorities by removing representation, which is ultimately the voices of these marginalized groups. And when people read these books, it can create a sense of belonging. It can remind them that they're not alone in their struggles. And when we lose accessibility to these books, it makes people less informed as a whole about the struggles of these groups. Two books with representation that I'll be using as examples are The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, which has topics of racial injustice and police brutality, and Not All Boys Wear Blue by George M. Johnson, which has themes of sexuality, gender expression, and the intersection of Black and queer identities. Why do book bans happen? Ultimately, they happen as a way to gain control. For example, when colonization would occur, typically one of the first things to be taken away were books, as this was their history, their creativity, their language, overall just the foundation of society. And banning books violates free speech. And books are also one of the most important forms of education. And banning them affects the intellectual development of humanity by further already declining literacy rates. And these bans affect teachers and students alike by diminishing their education quality. Additionally, Black communities have expressed distrust in the school system due to being let down by public education. And for me, these books help me gain a deeper sense of literacy. It helps me learn how to analyze works on a deeper level, as typically these books have deeper topics that help me also in my journey as a writer. It helps me learn how to write topics better, as these topics are typically ones that people experience in everyday life, such as grief, death, and just other things that are considered taboo, but they're banned under the guise of removing inappropriate material. However, a disproportionate number of them are bans upon books that are by marginalized groups or about these taboo topics that affect kids around the world, adults around the world. It affects everyone. For example, grief is a common topic in banned books, and it's a topic that a lot of people deal with. And banning books also silences opinions, and it violates free speech. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins and A Clockwork Orange by Burgess both have topics regarding questioning of authority. And when these books are banned, it silences those opinions. However, we can write a satisfactory end to this story, as there are ways to fight book bans. St. Francis, Minnesota educators won a suit to defend freedom to read. And freedom to read laws have been passed in 11 states. A judge in Florida, which is a common site of book bans, overturned parts of a 2023 book ban law, as it was declared unconstitutional to the rights of students. It is important to stay informed, to contact your Office of Intellectual Freedom about local library challenges, attend banned book week programs, advocate and create change, speak out, join the American Library Association's Unite Against Book Bans initiative, research, contact your school board in the best way you can. But most importantly, remember to gather talking points no matter what method you choose to contact or advocate. The National Coalition Against Censorship also has resources to share with elected officials. The grip on that pen is tight, but there is hope to pull it back. And people fight to take it back every day. Ultimately, book bans are part of the fight against hate. And book bans have significant impacts on the lives of people. However, there are ways to fight against them. Book bans significantly impact minorities and hurt intellectual development. However, there are ways you, as an advocate, can help fight them. So don't quietly read the news on book bans. Help advocate to write a satisfying end to this story.